So let us discuss about the second factor essential for photosynthesis. So that is air and photosynthesis. So number of scientists have worked on this photosynthesis, but one scientist, Joseph Priestley, he conducted a series of experiments and his experiments had made a milestone to understand more about the photosynthesis. His experiments had become a milestone so that so many scientists could understand about the process of photosynthesis. So Joseph Priestley in 1770 conducted experiment to know the role of air in photosynthesis. He want to observe how the air is used for photosynthesis, and he is the one, Joseph Priestley, in 1774 discovered oxygen. Who discovered oxygen? Joseph Priestley in 1774 has discovered oxygen, and though the oxygen was discovered by Priestley, he could not name it. But later on in 1775, another scientist called Lavoisier. Who is the scientist? Lavoisier has coined the name oxygen. So oxygen was discovered by Priestley, whereas the name oxygen was given by Lavoisier. The name was given by Lavoisier. Now what is that experiment given by Priestley had become so famous so that number of scientists could study or know about the role of air in photosynthesis, and that important experiment conducted by Priestley was bell jar experiment. What is that? Bell jar experiment. So in this experiment, in this bell jar experiment, what Priestley had done is, in the first setup, he has taken a burning candle. Here look at the picture. In the first setup, he has taken a burning candle and kept a bell jar over that candle. Now the candle has extinguished. Priestley could not understand what had happened. Okay, so now what did he do? In the second setup, he had taken the burning candle as well as a living rat. So he had taken the burning candle, living rat, and placed a bell jar over it. And here also he could see the candle got extinguished and the rat was dead. So he could not understand. He felt that the air inside the jar might be damaged by the burning candle and the living rat. So that's why the candle got extinguished and the rat is dead. Okay, now for the third time, when he had conducted the experiment, he has taken a mint plant also. So in the third setup, he has taken a burning candle, a living rat, and a mint plant. So all the three he had taken and covered them with the bell jar. So when he observed this, here surprisingly he could see the candle continued burning and the rat survived, and he could see the mint plant fresh. So he was surprised, and he said that the plants restore the air which the burning candle and the breathing rat removed, which means there might be gases exchange between the plants and the organisms. Now look at the third setup. Here the burning candle, which the gas it is being removed, whereas the rat which is removed during its breathing. So those gases from the burning candle as well as the rat might be taken by the plant, and the plant might be giving some gas that is helping the candle to burn and the rat to survive. So by observing this experiment, Priestley felt that there is exchange of gases between the plants and the organisms. So in the first setup, if we observe, the candle got extinguished, which means the candle did not have a gas which is actually needed for its burning. That's why it is extinguished. Whereas look at the second case. In this case, he has taken burning candle as well as the living rat. So here also candle did not have the gas which is necessary for burning, and the rat did not have the gas which is necessary for its breathing. Understood? That's why candle got extinguished, rat is dead. Now coming to the third situation or the third case, where if we observe the candle continued burning and the rat is survived, which means here the plants might be giving some gas which is being used by the candle for its burning and rat for its survival. So, and these gases which are removed by the candle as well as the living rat are taken by the plants. So, in this way the gases exchange takes place between plants and the environment, plants and the other organisms. Okay, right. According to Priestley, we came to know that there is exchange of gases between plants and the environment and between plants and the other organisms. Now, how these gases exchange occur in plants? So, the gases exchange occur in plants through special structures called stomata. What are they called? Stomata. In your previous classes, 7th and 8th classes, you learned the structure and functions of stomata. These stomata are minute pore-like structures on leaves. Where are these stomata present? They are present on leaves. They are small, minute pore-like structures, and through these pores, the gases exchange takes place. That is, carbon dioxide enters into the plant and oxygen comes out of the plant. Not only the stomata, but the loose tissue of the stems and roots also help in exchange of gases in plants. Is it clear now how the gases exchange occurs in plants? So, this is what actually explained by Priestley. Okay. So, now to make it more clear, we are going to talk about an activity where we observe that carbon dioxide is essential for photosynthesis or not. So, in that activity, we are going to clearly prove that carbon dioxide is essential for photosynthesis. And we talked about the Priestley's experiments, bell jar experiment, where we had seen that gases exchange occur, isn't it or not? Right. So, to know that carbon dioxide is essential for photosynthesis, we are going to discuss an activity. So, in this activity, we are going to prove that CO2 is necessary for photosynthesis, right? So, for this, what is the aim? The aim is that to prove CO2, that is carbon dioxide, is necessary for photosynthesis. Now, what are the apparatus required for this photosynthesis? We should take a destarched plant, a glass jar, potassium hydroxide, either solution or pellets you can take, a split cork is taken, iodine solution, etc. So, these are the apparatus used for this experiment. I repeat again, we have to take a destarched plant, a glass jar, potassium hydroxide, split cork, iodine solution, etc. So, these are apparatus required for this experiment. Now, let us talk about the procedure here, and now look at the picture, children, how the apparatus is set up here and how we have to do the experiment. Before starting experiment, we should take a destarched plant. What is meant by destarched or destarching means what? Destarch means removing starch. So, we can remove the starch from the plants by keeping them in dark room for nearly 6 to 7 days. So, when we keep the plant in dark room, the leaves become starchless. That means the leaves does not have any starch left in them. Then we call it as destarched condition. So, a potted plant has to be taken and kept in dark room for 6 to 7 days. Understood? So, then take out that plant and use for the experiment. So, now a destarched potted plant is taken here, and what we have to do? We have to select a leaf, a long, thin, slender, green leaf to be selected from that plant. plant. Okay. Now take a small glass jar which has a broad mouth. So into that glass jar, either you can pour the potassium hydroxide solution or you can place some pellets of potassium hydroxide. Now insert a split cork into this broad mouth of the glass jar. Okay. Now what we have to do, take this glass jar which is already containing potassium hydroxide solution. Now we have to bring near the potted plant, and already we selected a leaf, isn't it or not? So insert that leaf into the jar through the split cork. See that you insert only half the leaf into the jar. Remaining half should remain outside. In such a way, we have to insert the leaf, right? So now close the cork tightly and keep this setup in sunlight for few hours. Is it clear, children? Now let me explain again. What did we do first? We had taken a destarched plant. And what is destarching? Destarching means here we are keeping a potted plant in dark room for 6 to 7 days. Then we had taken out that plant. Now in that plant the leaves does not have any starch. Then we call it as destarched plant. So one of the long destarched leaf is selected for the experiment. Okay. Now what did we do? We had taken a small glass jar into which we had taken potassium hydroxide. You can take either solution or pellets into that jar. Now close this jar with a split cork. Now take this jar near the potted plant and the selected leaf is inserted into the pot. Only half the leaf is inserted, remaining half to be outside. So close the cork tightly. Now keep this setup in sunlight for few hours. So after few hours, bring that plant and remove the leaf from the jar. Okay. Now that leaf to be tested for starch. Already I explained how to test the starch. Which chemical is used for testing the starch? Iodine. Iodine is used for testing the starch. Now the leaf which is removed from the jar is tested for starch. So what do you observe? When we add few drops of iodine to this leaf, we could see only half the leaf has shown the color change, whereas the remaining half did not show. Now see, look at the picture, which half is actually showing the color change and which half is not showing the color change. Look, the upper part or the leaf which is outside has shown the color change, whereas the leaf which is inside did not show the color change. What did we do in the procedure? We had inserted half the leaf into the jar and remaining leaf we left like that, isn't it or not? So the leaf which is outside the jar has shown the color change, whereas the leaf which is inside the jar did not show any color change. Why is it like that? Why we have two different colors here, right? So here what happened? In the small jar, what did we take? Potassium hydroxide. Now what is the function of potassium hydroxide? Potassium hydroxide absorbs carbon dioxide. What is the function of potassium hydroxide? It absorbs carbon dioxide. So here in this experiment, the leaf which is kept inside the jar, that jar is containing potassium hydroxide. So the carbon dioxide which is inside the jar was absorbed by potassium hydroxide. That's why the inner part of the leaf could not undergo photosynthesis, whereas the outer part which is exposed has undergone photosynthesis. When photosynthesis process occurs, what is formed? Carbohydrate is formed, that is starch is formed. So inside no photosynthesis, no starch. Outside photosynthesis, hence starch formation occurred. So when we had tested the leaf outer part had shown the color change. What is the color change? Blue-black color. When we add iodine drops, we see blue-black color. Blue-black color indicates the presence of starch. So, inner part of the leaf, no color change. Outer part of the leaf, color change. So, that indicates the formation of starch. Understood, children? So, what is the result? When we test the leaf with iodine, outer part of the leaf has shown the color change, whereas inner part did not show the color change. Understood? So, this is what we learned from this experiment, where the carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. That's why inside the bottle, when we had taken the potassium hydroxide solution that had absorbed the carbon dioxide, that's why no photosynthesis occurred in the inner half of the leaf. Isn't it or not? This shows that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. Moll is a scientist actually. Who is the scientist? M-O-H-L. Moll is the scientist who actually conducted this experiment. That's why this experiment is also called as Moll's half-leaf experiment, or also we can say carbon dioxide necessary for photosynthesis. So, what precautions to be taken for this experiment? Here we should apply oil or Vaseline to the mouth of the glass jar in which we had taken potassium hydroxide, right? So, when we apply oil or Vaseline to the jar, the outside air does not pass into the jar, so that we can prevent the air from entering inside the bottle. And what is the other precaution to be taken? Here, see that the inserted leaf which we are placing inside the bottle should not touch the potassium hydroxide. The inner part of the leaf should not touch the potassium hydroxide. Vaseline or oil to be applied to the mouth so that external air does not pass inside, whereas the leaf should not touch the potassium hydroxide solution. So, these are the precautions to be taken while conducting this experiment. Then we get the proper result. Okay. Now, let us talk about another factor which is essential for photosynthesis. So, here sunlight is essential for photosynthesis, isn't it or not? Carbon dioxide, water, sunlight, chlorophyll, these are the factors essential for photosynthesis. Now, let us know this by conducting an experiment. So, here in this activity, what is the aim? Aim is to prove that sunlight is necessary to form starch in green plants. What is the aim of the experiment? To prove that sunlight is necessary to form starch in green plants. To form starch means what is the process going on here? Photosynthesis process is going on here, which means to prove that sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis, or to prove sunlight is necessary to form starch in green plants. Okay. So, for this activity, what are the apparatus required? So, the apparatus required for this activity are a destarched plant, black paper, etc. Right? So, destarched plant, black paper, etc. Now, what is the procedure we are going to follow in this experiment, right? So, here we had taken a destarched plant, right? Already I told you, destarch means what? Removing starch. How can we remove starch? By keeping the potted plant in dark room for 6 to 7 days. So, here also for these experiments, we need a destarched plant. So, this destarched plant, we have to select a leaf from it. Now, look at the picture and observe. We had taken a destarched potted plant and we had selected a leaf. And to that selected leaf, we had covered a part of that leaf with black paper. See, we did not cover the entire leaf, but we had covered a part of it with the black paper. So when we cover this with the black paper, what is happening? We are not allowing the sunlight to pass through it. In that particular covered part, sunlight cannot pass. Okay. So now after covering with the black paper, this potted plant to be kept in sunlight for few hours. Right. So after few hours, what happened? So now here what we have to do? We have to remove the black paper from that leaf and test with what? Iodine. So iodine is used to test what? Starch. Iodine is to test starch. Okay. So when we had added few drops of iodine to that leaf, what did we observe? Look at that. If we see, the covered part did not show any color change, whereas the uncovered part, you see, in the center we had covered it, on either side we did not cover it. So the covered part did not show the color change, whereas the uncovered part had shown the color change. What is the color change? Blue-black color. So blue-black color indicates what? Presence of starch. Blue-black color indicates presence of starch. So here we had covered the leaf with a black paper. So that covered part is not exposed to sunlight. That means photosynthesis did not occur in that part and no starch formation happened in that part. Whereas the exposed part where we did not cover has undergone photosynthesis. So starch is formed. So when we had tested this leaf for the starch present using iodine solution, we observed that the covered part did not show any color change, whereas the uncovered part had shown blue-black color, indicating that presence of starch. Understood, children? So in the result, what did we observe? When we had tested with iodine, in the uncovered part actually there is color change, whereas the covered part there is no color change. So color change indicates presence of starch. No color change means no starch. So this is what we had observed in this experiment, and this experiment proves that sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis, which means sunlight is necessary for starch formation in green plants. Is it clear, children? Right. Okay. Till now we had seen the different factors essential for photosynthesis, isn't it or not? Like water is essential for photosynthesis, where we had seen Wahl-Helmholtz experiment, and another factor, that is air. Air is essential for photosynthesis, where Joseph Priestley had conducted a bell jar experiment to show that there is gaseous exchange between plants and the environment, plants and the animals, isn't it or not? At the same time, how carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis, that is half-leaf experiment we had seen, right? And also we had seen that sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis with black paper experiment, right? So now we are going to see that whether the plants are producing oxygen or not. So before knowing about how the plants are producing oxygen, number of scientists worked on that. One of the scientists, he is a Dutch scientist named Jan Ingenhousz. What is his name? Jan Ingenhousz. So Jan Ingenhousz, he conducted experiments to know about photosynthesis, and he studied about the photosynthesis and said that plants produced oxygen. What did he say? He said that plants produce oxygen. And Ingenhousz, while conducting experiments in 1779, said that the plants produce oxygen only in the presence of sunlight. What did he say? Plants produced oxygen only in the presence of light, right? And when did he say that? In the year 1779. During that time, he conducted an experiment with the hydrilla plant. Hydrilla plant actually is a water plant. It is a hydrophyte. It grows in water. So he has taken that plant for his experiment. And when he observed this plant, he could see small bubbles formed around the green parts of the plant in bright sunlight. When the bubbles are formed in bright sunlight. He observed it very clearly, whereas in dark the bubbles did not form. So this shows that the plants are producing oxygen. He also proved that the gas present in those bubbles is nothing but oxygen. Nothing but oxygen. So John Ingenhousz said that plants are producing oxygen in the presence of sunlight. What did he say? Plants produce oxygen in the presence of sunlight, whereas in dark they does not produce any oxygen. Is it clear? So that was further confirmed by another scientist called Engelmann. Who is he? Engelmann in the early 20th century confirmed the Ingenhousz experiments and confirmed that they produce oxygen. And he also conducted experiments on photosynthesis, and he detected the point of maximum rate of photosynthesis. What did the Engelmann detected? Engelmann has detected the point of maximum rate of photosynthesis. So to understand this, he conducted experiment with alga as well as the bacteria. So he had taken a strand of alga and exposed it to different colors of light, right? So they had shown different changes or variations when they exposed to different colors of light. And later he used oxygen sensitive bacteria for his experiments. And when he exposed this oxygen sensitive bacteria to different colors of lights, he observed they crowded around the illuminated areas of red and blue rays. He observed that these bacteria crowded around red and blue rays of light. What does it mean? It shows that they undergo more photosynthesis in red and blue rays of light. Understood? So we have different colors in the light, right? So when the algal strand is exposed or when the bacteria is exposed to different rays of light, they had shown at some point of light they had undergone more photosynthesis, whereas in the other colors they did not undergo more photosynthesis. If we observe the oxygen sensitive bacteria, it had crowded around red and blue rays of light. What does it mean? It means that they have maximum photosynthesis in those light rays, whereas does not show that much of photosynthesis in the other rays of light. Understood? Which means light is playing a major role. So after observing this experiment, so many scientists have known about the role played by light in photosynthesis, as well as how the plants are using their pigments for photosynthesis. At the same time, they also learned how the plants are using light energy in photosynthesis. These experiments had made the scientists to understand more about the light in photosynthesis, at the same time how the plants are using light in the photosynthesis, at the same time how the pigment compounds or the colored compounds present in the plants are helping for photosynthesis. Understood? Okay children, just now we talked about John Ingenhousz experiments as well as Engelmann's experiments, where they said that the rate of photosynthesis is maximum at different rays of lights. At the same time, they said that plants produce oxygen. Okay, so to know that plants produce oxygen during photosynthesis in the presence of light, so now what is the aim of the activity? The aim of the activity is that to prove oxygen is produced during photosynthesis in the presence of light. So we have to prove that oxygen is produced during photosynthesis in the presence of light. So what are the apparatus required for this experiment? For this experiment, we need a beaker, a test tube, a funnel, hydrilla plant, water, etc. So what are the apparatus required here? We require a beaker, a test tube, funnel, hydrilla plant and water. Got the point? So now procedure. So how we have to set these apparatus? Look at the picture, children. Here we had taken a beaker and filled it with water up to 3/4 of its level. Now what should we do? We have to take a funnel and into the broad mouth of the funnel we have to insert few hydrilla twigs, which means the hydrilla plant is broken into small pieces, and those small pieces we call as twigs, and those twigs must be inserted into the broad mouth of the funnel. Now this funnel is placed in the beaker which is already having water in it. Okay. Now after placing, take a test tube with full of water, and that test tube with water to be inverted onto the funnel, or the test tube with water should be inverted over the funnel. Right? Understood how the setup is made? What did we do actually? We had taken a beaker with water filled up to 3/4 of its level. Then we had taken a funnel, and into the broad mouth of the funnel we had inserted few hydrilla twigs, and that funnel is placed inside the beaker. Right? So now we have to take a test tube with water and invert it over the funnel. Now keep this setup in sunlight for few hours. What should we do? We have to keep this setup in sunlight for few hours. Right. After few hours, what do we observe? We observe small bubbles coming out of the funnel. We observe small bubbles. Look at the picture. You could see some bubbles coming out, isn't it or not? Right? And those bubbles are actually pooling up at the end of the test tube. Right? Actually we had taken test tube with water. Now when these bubbles are coming out of the funnel, that means from where? From the hydrilla twigs the bubbles are coming out, and we had inserted these twigs into the funnel. So these bubbles are slowly gathering at the end of the tube. When the bubbles are coming, the water level in the test tube has decreased a little, and that end place is being occupied by the bubbles. That's what we observe in the test tube after some time, and that too in the sunlight, don't forget. Right? Okay. Now we have to test it, because in the bubbles which gas is present we have to know. So what did we do? We had slowly taken out the glass tube, immediately closed it with the thumb, and we had burning matchstick placed into the test tube. That burns brightly. So when this burns brightly, it shows the presence of oxygen. That means the bubbles which have evolved from the hydrilla twigs actually containing which gas? Oxygen gas. How did we know that it is oxygen gas? When we had inserted a glowing matchstick into the test tube, even it burns brightly. So that brightly burning condition shows that the gas present in the test tube is oxygen. What is it? Oxygen. Right? So by this experiment we understood that oxygen is released during photosynthesis in the presence of sunlight. And one thing you have to remember, we have to make same kind of setup, and we have to keep it in dark. And when we keep it in dark, we does not observe any bubbles coming out of the plant. So that shows light is necessary. What is necessary? Light is necessary for the production of oxygen during photosynthesis. So this experiment proves that oxygen is produced during photosynthesis in the presence of light. Understood? Okay. So what precautions we should take for this experiment? So here, when you take out the test tube to test the presence of oxygen, as soon as you take out the test tube, you have to close the mouth of the test tube with your thumb, so that the gas inside the tube does not escape. Is it clear? And another precaution what you have to take, we have to see that the setup is kept in proper sunlight. Why? Because oxygen is released only in the presence of sunlight. That's why we have to see that the setup is kept in proper sunlight. Then only we could get the proper result. Is it clear, children? Right? Okay, children. Let us evaluate today's content. Look at the questions there. Who discovered oxygen? Who coined the name oxygen? Name the experiment performed by Priestley to understand the role of air on the growth of green plants. What is the hypothesis given by Priestley after conducting bell jar experiment? How does gaseous exchange occurs in plants? What are the apparatus required for half-leaf experiment? How can we destarch plants? What is the use of potassium hydroxide in half-leaf experiment? Which part of the leaf does not show color change in black paper experiment? Name the scientist who said that oxygen is released by plants in the presence of sunlight. What is the gas present in the bubbles in hydrilla experiment? How can we test the presence of oxygen in hydrilla experiment? Thank you, children.